Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my channel and a card using the first STAMPtember limited edition collab set. This collaboration is with Trinity stamps. And as always, I will have links to all of the things in the description box directly below the video, as well as a link to the Trinity Stamps brand at Simon Says Stamp, because there is so many good things with Trinity stamps, specifically gnomes. This collaboration set is the, my brain stopped, Ice Cream Gnomes stamp set. It's adorable. Trinity Stamps has many gnome sets in this style for, all different sorts of artwork and occasions and things, and they're all adorable. I love them. So I took all three images and I stamped them onto Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110-pound cardstock with the new Simon Says Stamp black ink. I promised everyone that I would be giving this ink a good testing, especially this month. So, first thing I noticed with this ink, it's very juicy. It's very, very juicy. You definitely either just need to give it time to dry or like hit it with your heat tool. Yep. Or else it'll smear. So I learned that the hard way with my first attempt. And so after I stamped this, I did hit it with my heat tool because I don't have patience. I don't have patience and I literally don't have time. So I did that. And then I colored these images with Copic markers. Any alcohol markers will work. Do you need to have multiple types? No. You guys know. I have all the things. So I did Copic marker coloring. All of this coloring here on video is significantly sped up. I don't move this quickly. But yeah, most of the coloring was pretty simple. I go darkest to lightest. That's just a convenience thing. I've been coloring with alcohol markers for so many years that for me it's just easier. So yeah. I can't with these gnomes. I love them. That was one of my favorite things with Trinity stamps is little gnome characters. So yeah, I did all of their like facial hair / ice cream. I kind of like the play on all of this in brown. And then I did kind of like rainbow colors for everything else just to have fun with it because also it's going to be a birthday card and why not? So I just kept working my way through all the random colors I had grabbed and yeah, really simple. Really simple. I also really like the waffle cone, and I'm actually going to use that inspiration on the actual card once we get to it. So when I finish coloring everything, I pulled out my white gel pen, specifically the Jelly Roll 10, which is the widest gel pen, and added dots and highlights. As always, I don't follow any sort of like light source or anything. I just stick them wherever. And I also kind of follow the cross hatching on their cones. I just go over it with the white gel pen because it just kind of adds to it. So work my way through and add the little dots and little highlights wherever I thought they would work. Don't think about it too much. So once I get that, I die cut these. There is a coordinating die set. There's options, like always, with the STAMPtember collabs. There's the stamps alone, the stamps with the dies, and then there may be even some with stencils. We shall see what happens. And after I die cut them, I set them aside. And then I pulled out, this is the Trinity Stamps BirthYAY, literally BirthYAY balloons die set. And this will make sense in a minute, but I took some lavender cardstock and some white cardstock, and I stuck some double-sided adhesive to the back of the cardstock. That's basically making these a sticker. You could use as iron, anything like that. But these two pieces have this double-sided adhesive on it. And the purple cardstock, I am die cutting with the outline of the balloon wafer die. And then that white cardstock, I'm die cutting. There's the letters to spell yay and a little like bow for the balloon. So those have the adhesive on the back of them. And we'll come back to that in a second. And then I used the balloon wafer die and die cut this piece of, it's kind of brown cardstock. I don't have a source for this specific color, but like Neenah Desert Storm would work. It's very close to it. Not quite the same, but very close. So I die cut that so it's creating like an opening in this cardstock. And then I took the panel, I flipped it over, and I put it into my Scor-BUDDY. And then I'm just using my bone folder and basically scoring, like you can see I've got this kind of on an angle, and I'm scoring every half an inch, like so. And again, I'm working on the back of this, so it's going to create a raised pattern on the front of this cardstock. So I work my way through. You just got to be a little careful in the areas where the cardstock is narrower from the die cutting. And yeah, really, it's simple. Because the funny thing was when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, do I have an embossing folder that does kind of a crosshatch design? And then I was like, wait a minute, I don't even have to look for one. You can do this yourself with a scoring tool and either a bone folder or a stylus tool. That'll work too. So created that, and then I'm going to rotate this again, keeping it like face down on my Scor-BUDDY here. And I'm just going to rotate this, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to score roughly every half an inch. And then that'll create that sort of crosshatch look that kind of mimics the little cones on the gnomes' heads. So it's a subtle way to add a bit of texture and detail. You can also just do, straight lines or vertical lines, it's just an easy way to add some extra little detail. So worked my way through, and then once I was done, I need to turn this into a shaker. That was why I die cut the balloon from this cardstock. Now we're going to turn it into an actual balloon shaker. So I need a piece of acetate to do this. So I pulled out my pack of acetate. I was trying to find some scraps that were big enough, and of course they weren't. So I just took a full piece. I'm going to cut it down so it's just bigger than the window. And again, flip this over, so we're working on the back. And I'm going to put some TEAR RIFIC tape around the perimeter. Any strong adhesive will work for this. So the TEAR RIFIC tape, Scor tape, redline tape, I prefer using this sort of adhesive versus liquid adhesive. I've talked about this a lot. I don't like using liquid adhesive when it comes to things like acetate because the glue will just ooze out. It makes a mess, and I don't have the time or patience. Full stop. So put that adhesive on, and then I press that acetate into it, and that creates our window. And this was why I used the double-sided adhesive on the purple and the white cardstock, because then I can just peel that cardstock die cut, that narrow little balloon frame, and press it into place, and it immediately adheres to the acetate. And again, I don't have to deal with liquid adhesive, especially a narrow little frame like that over acetate. No, thank you. So I did that, and then I'm doing the same thing with the little knot, just peeling that off. But I don't press it down fully yet. What I ended up doing was I took that piece of white cardstock that has the double-sided adhesive still on the back of it, and I just trimmed a narrow little strip of that with my paper trimmer. And then I just adhered. In the end, this ended up being completely pointless because you can't see it. But I've talked about this. I get a little OCD with my balloons. It's one of my weird quirks. And I was like, well, it needs a string still. So I adhered it. But again, you're not even going to see it in the end. So you could skip that. But I'd press that into place. And then these little tassel wafer dies are part of that BirthYAY balloons set. So I just die cut scraps of cardstock with those and adhered them together, and then adhered that to the balloon string. So I've got my little tassels, and now we need to make it a shaker. So foam tape. I'm using regular thickness foam tape. So this is 1/16 of an inch. This makes a very low profile shaker. If you really want your bits to shake around in your shaker, either double up the foam tape or just use like thick, like 1/8 of an inch foam tape. That will also depend on the type of shaker elements you're using, but I was able to get away with this 1/16 of an inch foam tape. And then the other thing you need to remember is you want to make sure there's no gaps between the foam tape so nothing falls out. And then you'll remove the backing so that nothing moves around, because once you add the shaker bits, you don't want to be peeling off the backing and then things get stuck. It's a pain. So I removed the backing, and then I poured in my shaker bits, which were also from Trinity stamps. There's some little like rainbow sprinkles. And I was pressing these down, like making sure I had just a single layer of them, because I don't have a lot of space, to really shake things up. So if you really want things to move and all of that, just double up the foam tape or use thicker foam tape. So once I had them in place, I pressed just a piece of that same lavender cardstock to the back, and now I have a shaker balloon, and it's so cute. And then those letters I die cut that also have the double-sided adhesive on the back, so all I had to do was peel them off and then press them onto that acetate window. So now we have a BirthYAY, a BirthYAY balloon. I don't know why I like punny things like that, you guys. It was fun. This was fun. So once I had that all built, I used the same thickness foam tape. This is like the 1-inch foam tape from Altenew, so it's just a convenience thing. And I put that along the back to even out the back of this panel. And then I die cut some of Simon's Audrey Blue cardstock with one of the new Scalloped rectangle wafer dies. And I'm going to adhere this panel to that little scalloped rectangle. Love it. Love it. So I'm going to get that pressed into place. And then, of course, we're going to add some splatter because it's just what I want to do. So I took the circle left over from die cutting the little frame for that balloon, and I used that to mask that area off because I don't want to get any of the splatter on that acetate because it either won't dry at all or it will just, again, take forever to dry. So I masked that off, and then I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Positively Perfect White Splatter Medium. You just have to make sure to stir it up really well. So I stirred it up, and I've got my card front here inside my splat box, and then I use my fan brush and add a healthy dose, of white splatter to this background. And then I'm going to set that aside to dry. And while that's drying, I decided to color around the edges of 2 of these little gnome images. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. I don't mind the white outline on my die cut images. It doesn't bother me at all. But sometimes I'm just like, I don't mind taking the extra couple minutes to color around it. Like I said, it just honestly just depends on my mood. So for this, I was like, yeah, why not? So I just used a Copic marker and went around, and it doesn't take long. If it's a really finicky image, most of the time I'm going to skip it. I'm like, the white outline doesn't bother me. But this took like a minute or 2. And again, the splatter needed time to dry. So I was like, why not? So I colored around the 2 of these, and that just helps, make everything look a little more seamless. And then my card base is a top folding A2 white note card, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I took a couple sentiments from that little ice cream gnomes set. I stamped one with that black ink, and then I stamped the big happy birthday sentiment with peony positively saturated ink, and then just leaving space for that third little ice cream gnome. They're so cute. And yeah, this could be a clean and simple card front. Sometimes, the way I end up finishing the insides of my cards, it's like, that could be a total card front, whatever works. So I adhered that to the inside. I adhered the card front to the card base with liquid glue. And then my 2 little remaining images, I'm going to pop these up with some foam squares. And then off camera, I had heat embossed the other 2 sentiments from the set onto some Doll Pink and Audrey Blue cardstock scraps. So I white heat embossed them and then used the coordinating wafer dies to die cut them. And after I pop these little characters into place, I'm going to pop the sentiments up with foam squares as well. So once I get these into place, this card is complete. And it's colorful, and it has texture, and it's a shaker, and I squeezed in a bit of splatter, and this was a lot of fun. Oh, I made a disaster. Oh, the mess I made when I was making this, but it was fun. And yeah, it's a shaker, but it's not super bulky, which is also fun. And still, it moves around. You can still get the shaker bits, the noise, which is, all the fun. But like I said, it depends on the things you use. Sometimes you need to make them thicker to give them more space. It just depends. But that was my first collab video for September. Stay tuned. There's many more to come. All the links to all the things are in the description box below the video, so you can check those out if you're interested. Thank you all so very much for hanging out with me, for thumbs upping and commenting. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I'll be seeing you all very soon in the next video. Bye. thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!